And we are live. Welcome to the show. This is Discover Bible Truth, and tonight's show is on Mariology and the perpetual virginity of Mary. And this is a discussion between Repairer of the Breach and Follow in Truth LJ. I'm just going to put the link up because I didn't have it ready, so I do apologize for that. I've literally just come off another stream. So here we go. There's the link. George is already here. I'm sure that LJ will be here within the next couple of seconds. I'd like to thank you all for joining. Sorry, I was caught up in something. Live. I just done that. Pin message to the top. Right, here's Follow in Truth. Good afternoon, sir.
Hello.
Hello,
Well,
how?
it's 10 o'clock in the evening here.
Yeah, the pair of the breach is on his way. I'm so looking forward to this conversation.
I'm not. It is only a conversation, so I'm a little bit less nervous. I do get when I get into like.
No, this is not a debate.
I know it's not. I just get all nervous and my brain goes all blank. But we'll enjoy it. I'm looking forward to it. I am looking forward to it.
So I've really been looking forward to this. So to the viewers that are watching, this is going to be, there'll be like a 5-minute open statement from both parties. It's not a debate. It's just a general discussion. There'll be like a 5-minute opening statement in their position, and then it will be an hour to maybe an hour and a half conversation on the perpetuality of the Virgin Mary. And there'll also be the opportunity for a Q&A. If you want to be in the audience and you don't want to come up on stage, ask a question, please leave a question in the comments section, in the live comments section, and just put @ either Following Truth or @ Repair of the Breach. Ask a question to them and I'll post it to them. All we're doing right now is just waiting for George. He will be here in like a minute or so. I think he's just getting ready. And it will be just a one-on-one conversation. Right, here we go. Here's George now. So if you want to take just 5 minutes each just to give like a brief testimony, what have you, or 2 minutes maybe, and then we can get into it. I'm going to stay out of the way. So it's just going to be now for the next hour to an hour and a half on Mariology and the perpetual virginity. If Following Truth, you want to go first?
I'll let George go. Seeing he's on the affirmative.
All right, okay.
Really on the well, I suppose there's no really affirmative. We're not debating or anything, but I'll let George go, and I'll just follow up. I haven't got too much. I'm follow, so I'll just follow, but I haven't got too much to actually say anyway. So.
Okay, so George, if you want to go first.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you loud and clear. Audio's perfect.
Okay, because I'm not using a mic. So
coming through.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about the perpetual virginity. Now, I believe that I can show that from Scripture. And not only that, but all the traditions that the Orthodox Church has, such as she is the Queen Mother, just as she was assumed into heaven, and she is right now in the temple of the Lord. And I'm going to show that only by scripture. I'm not going to use tradition at all. The only time I might use tradition is if LJ tries to use the fathers against me. Then I'll use the fathers. If that doesn't happen, I'm only going to use scripture. Because you guys believe only in sola scriptura. So I'm going to play on your cards, on your platform, only by scripture. And that's it. I'm just going to wait to start.
Okay, so I guess it's me up. Yeah, I'm going to try and stick to scripture. I mean, if you want to go off into church fathers and stuff like that, then I'm okay with that, and maybe we'll chuck in a father here and there for an extra citation if we feel like it's kind of needed. I'm okay with you doing that. So I understand that you say that you're gonna stick to scripture, which is fine, which is obviously where I stand. So I stand on the Bible. So if we can prove it from the Bible, then even better. It's normally I do find that Catholics will, obviously you're not Catholic, but when I've discussed mainly with Catholics, because I've not actually discussed this with your position actually before. It normally does go into tradition or fathers, so I'm okay with that if you want to do that. But yeah, I'm looking forward to just having an open conversation, and we'll see how it goes.
Sure. So you want to start with Matthew 1, 24, 25, or Matthew 18 to 25 actually?
Yeah, so let's obviously, because we said that we would start off with the perpetual virginity. So let's do that. Let's start there, and then we can just progress and see how the conversation goes.
I agree.
Yeah. So that's a good point. That's a good point of start is 125.
You want me to go first, or you want to go first?
No, I'll let you go. I'll let you put forth your argument, and then we'll just discuss it. I'll try and give you some rebuttal back, and we'll just take it from there.
Okay. So in Matthew 1:25, a lot of Protestants are stuck on the word "and knew her not until," and they explain that as Joseph and Mary had sex. Well, I'm going to prove from the text that that's not the case. And if that's the case, then Mary was not a virgin, according to the text. Now, I'm not going to get into the arguments that Catholics mostly use. There are some Orthodox that might use this argument that eos means until. It doesn't mean that there's a change after. And they use some verses for that. But the word eos only signifies something previous up until that moment. That's the whole point of the conversation that he wants to put. So in Matthew 18, when it starts, it says that Joseph and Mary came together. Now, I've heard people saying that that's a sexual act. But the Greek word there is synaktisan, which is they came together as the two houses became one. Mary went to the house of Joseph. And we could see that because in the next verse, Joseph was commanded to receive her, paralamvani. That's a legal term for a marriage. And this is a chiastic form. So if you want to say that knew her means she had sex, then Joseph and Mary had sex before Jesus was born. In verse 18, and they came together when Mary conceived. That's a legal contract. That's a marriage. So if she did consummate the marriage, then she did it before the birth of Jesus. And that will contradict the scripture, which says that he knew her not until he was born. The whole thing that Matthew's trying to make clear is to exegete Isaiah 7, the virgin birth. Now, the word eros ou that you're going to bring up sometimes can signify a change, sometimes won't signify a change. But I'll leave it there, and you can continue, LJ, from here, and we'll pick up.
Yeah, well, so I wouldn't use verse 18 myself, because although where it says now the birth of Jesus Christ was on the wise when his mother Mary was espoused to Joseph, so we know that she's espoused. That's not they're not physically married at that specific time. Obviously, we know betrothal in Jewish understanding is slightly different than, you know, the engaged part of what we would actually understand. It's a technical marriage, and if they wanted to separate, then they would have to go through a divorce, even though that they've not consummated the marriage. So we know that they're espoused to be married, but it literally states before they came together. Now, there are some people out there that will understand, and I'm not going to say that it can't mean before they came together would mean that they didn't have sex. This isn't a sexual act that is being. It's not what I would actually postulate. It's not something that I would put forth. But I don't think that the text demands that it can't be that. Because it just says before they came together, she was found with child. So this is just telling you that before that, let's take it as sex. Before they had sex, she was already found with child of the Holy Ghost. So it's already something that has happened. She's already been found with child before that they have come together. But I would understand this as coming together as in Mary becoming part of Joseph's household and coming to. But we also have to question why this actually is included in verse 18. What is Matthew actually trying to state there? But I wouldn't utilize verse 18 myself personally. I would utilize specifically, I'm going to go to verse 25, because we're there getting and knew her not till she had. So I'm going to read that with the general understanding of what that means, till she had brought forth her firstborn son. Now, we have to ask why Matthew is including that word there, till, if it wasn't something that changed after. So we know that this is that he doesn't know her till she had brought forth her firstborn son. So I'm nowhere going to be trying to argue that that Mary and Joseph had sex before she actually had Jesus at all. All right. So that's not going to be my position. But my position is going to be is that once Mary and Joseph or Mary has had her firstborn son Jesus, then Mary and Joseph consummate their marriage after the birth of that. So I will ask you, if Matthew is not intending for us to understand this as a change, and the point of knowing her was not going to change after she brought forth that firstborn, what is the inclusion of the word there? Why doesn't Matthew just say, and Joseph did not know Mary? So I will ask you what the purpose of that, of including that word there for.
Because they were living in the same house.
Okay. But in verse 25, so what do you understand and knew her not? Would you understand that? Is it a sexual act, as in he did not know her at all?
Yeah.
So, and he knew her not would be a sexual act, or the lack of sexual act.
Well, Matthew is saying that despite they were in the same house,
Mm-hmm.
they had never had any connection.
Okay. So what I'm specifically asking is that Matthew is saying that there has been no sexual act. Why has he included the word till?
To make it clear that Joseph had no part in the child.
Right. So why didn't he just say, and he knew her not? And that was the act would be then continuous if the perpetual virginity is something that he is postulating and putting forward. Why do we get the till there?
To make it clear that she is a virgin given birth.
Right. But we're not, but that would not change if he doesn't know her at all, ever. She would still remain the virgin, which is obviously what you're putting forward. He doesn't need to include the word hios there at all, because if he didn't know her at all ever, then the inclusion of that word is actually redundant.
Well, you have to understand that Joseph wanted to send her away because he was found with a child that was not his.
Right. But
and then the angel came and told her, "Don't worry, receive her, take her as your wife."
Yeah.
So he took her as a wife, and when they went and told them to go to Egypt, he called her a wife.
Yes.
Yet she was betrothed only.
Yes.
Because you never find that Mary was married in the text.
Well, we don't get that, but we do get obviously her being called his wife. But
yes, but she was betrothed.
We can understand that as a betrothed wife, but here specifically, it's the specifics that I'm trying to get into on verse 25. Is Matthew's necessity to include the word hios here? It becomes redundant if he just did not know her. If Joseph doesn't know Mary and he doesn't ever know Mary, then there is, in fact, actually it becomes confusing, the word hios here. Or I'm going to go with the English because that's the words that I read and understand. So, and knew her not till. The English there makes that very clear to me, that the knowing was only to the point of after she brought forth the firstborn son. Something's going to change with the till there. Without that, and knew her not, she had brought forth her firstborn son, right? The till there actually connects those. She had brought forth her firstborn son. So what we're getting is, he doesn't know her until something, and then we're getting an action. She had brought forth her firstborn son. If Joseph doesn't know Mary, and he never knows Mary, then that sentence actually becomes pointless. It should just read, and Joseph knew her not. Then she brought forth her firstborn son. But that we're getting the connection there between all of those three things. Something changes after the event of bringing forth the firstborn son, because what happened before only happened until that point, and then it changes. The English is very clear.
Yes, but the Greek is not clear. The Greek doesn't mean the same thing with the English.
but it does. It does mean the same thing, because Hios Hu does mean that, and we have Matthew uses it 6 times, and every single time that he uses it, Hios Hu, it is used in context of something that then changes.
I disagree.
Time. So
I disagree.
So let's have a look at the times that that Matthew uses.
Sure. Before though, I just want to mention the only reason she's mentioned as betrothed, and Matthew wants to make clear that she's a virgin, because he's talking about Isaiah 7. She's the Alma. She's not called Ish in Isaiah, wife. She's called Alma, a young lady, a virgin, ready for marriage, which is betrothed.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we say, rejoice, unwedded bride. Because she was never married. She never consummated her wedding. But she's considered a wife as betrothed.
Right.
Just as Israel is an everlasting bride of God.
The Alma there is used in order to be able to that's pushing forward the virgin birth. That's not being used to push forward the perpetual virginity. We're going to agree on the virgin birth. So Alma is being used there to show that the woman was going to be a virgin, but that does not in any way
a betrothed virgin, not a wife.
Right. Yeah, but okay, but that we're only talking about Jesus at that time.
That's why she's Alma,
because it's only in reference to Jesus. It doesn't mean after that she has to be Alma. Okay, only until the point of Jesus. It's only in reference to the Messiah being born. Isaiah 7:14 is only in reference to the Messiah. Jesus is the firstborn son.
But she is an Alma found with child.
Exactly.
She's not a wife found with child.
We're not disagreeing. We're not disagreeing on that point at all, because that's only in reference to the point of Jesus. She is the Alma. She isn't married. She hasn't had sex. She's a virgin. She brings forth Jesus, her firstborn son. So I would be in an agreement of that. So Isaiah 7:14 is not going to can't be used in the argument of perpetual virginity or virginity after. It can only be used in the point of up to Jesus himself. But is it okay if we can go and have a look at the other usages of the?
Yeah. I would only say that if that was the case, she would be called Ish, not Alma. But let's move on.
No, because Ish would only constitute a woman. Alma gives you much more information about the woman that is going to bring forth the Messiah. The Alma.
Yes, I agree because it indicates that she will be a young virgin betrothed.
Exactly. So, but this is only referring to the birth of the Messiah. We're not talking. That Isaiah 7:14 says nothing about that woman remaining an Alma, or whether she would have any other children. It was only in respect to Jesus Christ, whether he was going to be born of a virgin or not. And the Alma is in reference to Jesus. Now, at the point of Jesus being born, she was a virgin. We're not going to argue about that. So I'm going to fully agree with Isaiah 7:14 on that point. But that then changes. There's a point of change. But anyway, let's have a look at
yes, let's look at the examples.
So the examples, Matthew uses it 5 other times. So Matthew 14:22, Matthew 17:9, Matthew 18:30, Matthew 18:34, Matthew 26:36. So let's have a look at them. So Matthew 17:9. I don't know. Do you want to, Chris? Do you want to bring up verses? Is that something?
Yeah, that would be better.
Would it be better to bring them up so other people can see rather than me, just having to read them blankly? And I don't know if we can do that, or I can
If
share
you
my
could share
screen.
your, if you could share your screen, I can because I'm on my tablet right now.
Okay, let me see if I've got my screen. Let's have a look. I don't think I've got those verses on my. Let's have a look. Yes, I have. So if I can share my, let me see if I can share my screen. I just present. I suppose I should be able to just. This. It might be easier if other people can actually see the. The verses that we're going to look at, rather than just reading them out. Sorry, chat. We're going to have a minute interval while I just try and bring up some slides. Are we going to do questions from the audience after? Did we plan on, or is it just questions between?
No, we will have questions later too. You there? I lost both of them. So the examples that LJ wants to bring, since I don't know what's going on, the word until in the Greek is eos ou. EOSOU, 2 words. Now, I read those examples and some might indicate a change, others don't indicate a change. And that's what we're going to go into right now and see where it's used and if it changes or not. Even St. Paul uses it. And we lost LJ. I have a surprise for LJ. There's another example in Matthew. Chris, you there? Chris? Hello? There we go.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, good. My internet crashed. Apologies. I
am so sorry. I had to nip away from the screen, so I didn't know you crashed. I can only absolutely apologise for that. I hope you weren't waiting long.
No, the internet crashed and I couldn't get back in.
Okay, I do apologize. I do
Alright.
apologize for that, guys.
Chris,
I
can you
had to nip
post?
away.
Can you share screen and post the scripture?
I've got
I,
mine now, so I can present. So there we go. So these are the verses. So we've got Matthew 17, 9. And as they came down from the mountain, I can't read that because I've covered over with a something. And charged, saying, "Tell the vision to no man until the Son of Man be risen again from the dead." So this shows clearly an instruction that something would that they weren't to tell the vision to anybody until Jesus was risen from again. That's a clear change of what was before. Something that was.
I agree with that.
Okay, so Matthew 14:22, and straightway Jesus constrained his disciples to get into a ship and to go before him unto the other side, while, so the KJV translates this, while he sent the multitudes away. So obviously, once the multitudes have been sent away, there would be a change, and they would be able to come up off the ship. Yeah. And or to the other side, there's going to be a change here. It's just something that he's doing while he's sending the disciples away.
This is where I don't agree.
So you,
because he sends the disciples on the other side and tells them, until I send them away. The disciples remained on the other side, and then Jesus went to them. The disciples didn't leave; they remained.
Okay. Did they ever remove from the side, from that side, or did they stay on that side forevermore?
Well, that doesn't matter. The context is that they remained at the same place.
Right. Okay. But that does change because they're not being told to stay on the other side forever.
No, but they were told to go and stay there. And after, when Jesus went to them, they were still there.
Yeah, they were on the other side.
So they didn't change their spot before and after.
Okay.
Well, continue.
They clearly do change their position. We'll go and have a look at the full context of Matthew 14:22 as well, and then Matthew 18:30, and he would not, but went and cast him into prison till he should pay the debt. So would that change after the debt was paid?
No, I agree. That's a change.
Okay. Matthew 18:34, and his Lord was wroth and delivered him to the tormentors till he should pay all that was due unto him. Would that change once that was paid?
Yep, I agree.
Okay. And Matthew 26:36. Then cometh Jesus with them unto a place called Gethsemane, and said unto his disciples, sit ye here while I go and pray yonder. Once he's prayed, were they free to move from where they were set?
Well, they were still there. Doesn't say what happened after.
Well, it does say what happened, because we know exactly what happened afterwards. Jesus is arrested from there, and they don't sit there they're not continuing on sitting there. So that
it's not perpetual, but they were there.
Yeah, but it does change. It is something that changed, and I don't believe that as soon as Mary gave birth to Jesus, within 5 minutes, Mary and Joseph are in bed. There is it doesn't mean that something that has to happen immediately. It just means that there is going to be a change in what has happened before.
Well, whenever somebody saw God or a vision, they separated themselves, just like Moses separated himself from his wife and others.
Okay.
So you think that if Christ was born from the Virgin Mary, Joseph wouldn't separate himself from the Virgin Mary?
Why would he separate himself from the Virgin Mary?
Because that's what all the prophets did.
So all the prophets didn't have wives?
No, but when they met God, they separated themselves from their wives.
What about Hosea, who had to go and actually take a wife?
Well,
After,
that's analogy with Jerusalem, with Israel.
right, but so he didn't actually physically go and do that, or not?
No, he did, but that's
Right.
also a metaphor for Israel.
Right, but it's also a physical, literal thing that he did.
Yes, because he was commanded.
Okay, but you're now going to you're going to insert something. Where would it say that Mary and Joseph were not free to engage in sexual? Because I mean, it literally says, "Feel free to take her as your wife." It doesn't say stay away from her. The instruction from the angel is to take her as your wife. Don't be scared to take her as your wife. So what? So you're going to read in there. It says the angel is saying, take her as your betrothed wife, but don't have sex with her. Stay side from her.
Well, if he took her as a wife, then that would be before the birth of Christ.
Right. But he's saying, don't be afraid to take her as your wife.
And then he took her, meaning that they consummated the marriage, but not.
No, that's not what
sex.
That's not what that is meaning
Because
at all.
paralamvano is a legal term to receive your wife in your house. So how can you receive your house in your house if you haven't made a marriage in the eyes of the people? The people thought they consummated the marriage, but they didn't. Because if they did, it would have been before the birth of Christ.
Right. But that.
So they consummated the marriage in the eyes of the people, but they never did it physically.
Exactly. But then we are also, so I agree with you on that point, but then we're also getting that Matthew includes the clause that Joseph, so he's letting us know, the reader know, not the public who believed that Mary and Joseph had consummated, and actually they called Joseph the father of Jesus, so they assumed that Jesus was the son of Joseph, right? The literal son of Joseph. But we know, those that are privy to the information know that this isn't the case. And so we are privy to the information that Joseph doesn't take Mary physically in that sense until she's brought forth the firstborn. So we, as the reader, are being given information that others are not privy to. That's why we know that Joseph isn't the father, but they assumed that he was, because they've come together. He's taken her as his wife. He hasn't been told to separate from her. He hasn't been told to stay away. In fact, he's been told to take her as his wife. Then we know that there was no consummation of the marriage, but we get the important word till the bringing forth of the firstborn. Now that's a word which is actually important. Firstborn.
Before we go to the firstborn, can you go to Matthew 13:33? It says the same thing. Eos u. It's another example in Matthew. And can you tell me if that's a change on that? Matthew 13:33. It's a parable. LJ, you there?
Has he been booted again?
So until he comes back, Matthew 13:33 is talking about a parable that a woman, the kingdom of heaven, is like unto 11 which have taken a woman, which a woman took, and hid of flour measures 3, until Eos u was leavened, until it was leavened. So is there a change after it was leavened? Where's LJ? There he is.
There, I'm back again. My internet might crash again in a minute as well. I don't know why it's really bad tonight. It's always the case. Chris, are you able to bring up that verse?
Matthew 13:33.
Yeah, George, if whoever wants to share the Bible, the whatever Bible you both want to use, bring it up and I'll share it for you. Oh, hang on.
Just put the English first.
Yeah, give me
Matthew 13:33. Put the KJV since LJ likes the KJV too.
Yeah, I used the KJV.
So Matthew 13:33.
Yeah.
Right, okay, I'm just doing that now. Give me 2 seconds. And KKJV. Here we go. Present, share screen. And this is the verse in question. Can everybody see that correctly?
You could do a little bigger.
Okay, bear with me.
Have you got it? There you go.
Hang on a minute. That's a bit too. There we go.
There it is. So another parable spake he unto them. The kingdom of heaven is like unto leaven, which a woman took and hid in 3 measures of meal, till the whole was leavened.
Mm-hmm.
The word till there is eosu.
Mm-hmm.
So is there a change after it was leavened?
The kingdom of heaven is like unto leaven, which woman took and hid in 3 measures of meal, till the whole was leavened. So she's taken the leaven and she's put it with the meal and put it together, and it all becomes leavened. So at the point here, the point is that we have a leaven and we have the meal, which are separate. The meal doesn't have any leaven in. Let's have measures of meal. Let's have a look at what that actually is. The Greek there for the meal. You probably know it more than.
Yeah, I don't have it in front of me right now, but I could pick it up on the internet. It's
a flour.
Alevrusata. Yeah, it's measures.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Measures. Flour measures, right? Okay, so we've got so what I can read there quite is that we've got leaven, and she's hid it in three measures of meal. So I'll read it from the English there. Till the whole was leavened. So she's put the leaven in with whatever it is that she's hid it in, and it all becomes leavened. So there is a change. What wasn't
until it was leavened.
Yeah, the whole was leavened. The meal becomes leavened.
Yes, it doesn't change after.
The meal does, because she's taken the leaven and put it with the meal. The meal didn't have the leaven. She's got the leaven, and then the whole thing
until it was leavened.
Exactly, till it was leavened. There's a change there. The meal wasn't leavened. Now it's leavened because she put leavened with it.
Yeah, but it's eos u. So exactly. Until it was leavened. There's no change after it was leavened.
No, the meal has changed.
Like eos u, until they knew her. You're saying that there was a change after. Now you're saying that there's not a change after. Or there is a change after.
I don't get what you're saying. I'm saying that there is a change.
But there's not a change.
But there is a change here. The meal has become leavened. The whole thing is now become leavened. If you have,
yes, it doesn't change after.
Milk and you have strawberry, right? And you put the strawberry in with the milk becomes milkshake, strawberry milkshake. It becomes the whole thing. That's a change. So you've got two parts, you put them together, and the whole part is now changed. Because the leaven and the meal have been put together, and it's now leavened the whole thing. That's why when you understand with a little leaven leavens the whole bread, because a little leaven, right? You've got an unleavened bread, but you've taken a little bit of leaven, you've put it in the bread, and the whole thing has become leavened. There's a change. There's a change here. There's a change between leaven.
There's a change until. But after the until, it doesn't change. After it's complete, it doesn't change.
Of course it doesn't change, because it's already changed. So after Mary is no longer a virgin, she can't become a change. She can continue on having sex, but she doesn't change from being a non.
After Mary gave birth to Jesus, the change was the son. That's the change. She didn't have a son. Now she has a son.
No, the change is literally in the text where it says that he knew her not until. The until is in connection to and knew.
Yeah, it wasn't completed, just as the leaven wasn't completed. But once the leaven was completed, it doesn't change. Just as once the child was brought forth, there was no change after that.
That's not what that's literally not what that's saying at all. Because there is a change after she has given birth. She gives birth, then the not knowing her hasn't.
Yeah, she is found with child. That's the change.
That is in. How are you reading that into that verse? It's 125 is connecting and knew her not to.
If you're saying that the change is the leavened after the eos the leavened, then the change has to be eos the child. So that child is in place of the leavened.
Not
in the analogy.
Because what has changed in Matthew 13:33? The meal, it's become leavened.
Yes. And what has changed in Mary? From virgin, she gave birth.
From virgin. Exactly. That's the point.
Yes, she gave birth. From a non-mother, she became a mother, the firstborn.
No. That's not in that context. That's not there. And knew her not. We're getting the specifics.
Until she brought forth her firstborn.
Right. So
until the whole was leavened.
And knew her not is being connected with her having the firstborn. So and knew her not until she gives birth. So
until what?
Once she's given birth.
So the meal was meals until what?
Until she's given birth.
And the other ones until what? Until it's leavened.
Right. Because the two things are connected. The two things are connected. You're taking one of those out. You're only focusing on the birth. The birth is the point when something changes.
Yes, I agree.
Knowing, because there are three things in there, just like there are three things in Matthew 13:33. What is there? There's leaven, there's meal. The meal and the leaven are connected, and that changes. So the Mary and the birth and not knowing are all connected. The till changes.
She gives birth.
It doesn't change it doesn't say, oh, she didn't give birth until.
No, it says and knew her not until
that's
her firstborn was until she gave birth to her firstborn.
Right, so he didn't know her until she brought forth the firstborn. So the change of the not knowing changes once the firstborn is brought forth. Once she's given birth to the firstborn, the connection till brings forth what is just being stated and knew her not. Okay. we're obviously going to disagree. We're obviously clearly not seeing that one as eye to eye. But obviously, other people they will have their say, and maybe they'll be able to.
Yes, because I see it as a parallel. So if in this case, until the whole was leavened, in the other case will be until she brought forth her firstborn.
Right, but the whole thing is changed once it's leavened. Once the two things have been connected, the two things that are connected with the till, the leaven and the meal, once they are connected together, then the change happens because they become leaven, the whole meal. Just like once she's brought forth her firstborn, the till can stop because we're not in reference to the bringing forth. It's not she's pregnant until she brings forth her firstborn. That's not the context. The context there is the not knowing her, and the not knowing her is up to a point of reference, and the point of reference is the bringing forth of the child. Once she's brought forth the child, the till part can change, which was the not knowing her. So there are three.
Well, then you'll have to say that the leaven can change after the till.
No, not.
Why?
Not.
I don't understand why not then.
Because the leaven has changed already.
No, but it's after, until the whole was leavened. Just as it was until the firstborn was given birth.
All right. Until when you've got two parts, the leaven and the something which isn't leavened, you put them together, they all become leavened. Right.
Yes, and when you put the Holy Spirit in Mary, those become the Son.
But the context is not knowing. It's like literally in the text.
Yes, because in verse 18 it tells us that she came into his house.
That's right. So what you're actually saying is that he knew or not. Then until she brings forth her firstborn, which changes the firstborn. Then he continues not to know her.
Yes, because Saint Matthew wants to make it clear that she's a virgin despite living in the same house with Joseph.
Right. So he wants us to know that they've come together and they haven't consummated, which is why he includes the word till, because otherwise he doesn't need to include it. If he just wants you to know that they haven't had sex and that she remains a virgin, all he needs to say is that that Joseph doesn't know Mary. That's all he needs to say. Not till, because that gives the impression that something is going to change. So what he needs to say is that Mary doesn't know Joseph, or Joseph doesn't know Mary. Full stop. There is no till. There is no point of reference. All we need to know is that Joseph doesn't know Mary. Then we know that there is no change after she's brought forth the firstborn. But the till included in the verse makes it clear that there is going to be a change.
No, we'll have to disagree because I don't see it that way.
Okay, so where do we go from there?
Where do you want to
go? So let me see what
we also have the example of St. Paul with the Eosu, which he was held before and he was held after.
Yeah, so let's go and let's have a look at that one. And I can actually I should have that verse. That's Acts 25:21, yeah?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So, Chris, can you bring up Acts 25:21?
I'm not sure if there's more examples. I was looking to find some, and I only found that one in Matthew 13:31 so far. That's why I brought it up.
But yeah, I actually did miss that one. But I still agree. I still think that there's a change.
Sorry, did you say Acts 25:21?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
By the looks of it, he's just been booted again.
Am I still here?
Oh, you're still here. Wow, I thought you got.
Yeah, I thought I'd gone. The internet is. Well, I thought I had gone. Right. Okay. So I had started speaking, but then I realized that I wasn't being heard. So Acts 25:21. But when Paul had appealed to be reserved unto the hearing of Augustus, I commanded him to be kept till I might send him to Caesar. Yep. And is that the verse that you want to use?
Yeah, it says the same thing, Eosu.
That does utilize Heosu. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, so we see it as he was held before and he was held after.
Which I will fully agree with. It's the position of who he's being held by. It says, but when Paul had appealed to be reserved unto the hearing of Augustus, I commanded him to be kept till I might send him to Caesar. So who is he being held by? Faustus. All right. But it says, I commanded him to be kept till I send him to Caesar. So the change is not in being held, it's by who is it being held by. It's literally in the text. It's who is holding him. That was only until he sends him to Caesar. He was held, he was kept till I might send him to Caesar. So he was being kept by on his command, and then he sent him to Caesar, who then keeps him under his command. So there is a change.
Yes, we won't see that as a change. We see it as he was kept before and he was kept after.
Of course,
under the Romans.
And I will fully agree that Paul was held and he was kept, but he is kept by two different people because he is sent from one to another. So there is a change there in the holding in that particular verse.
Yes, we see it differently again. You see it as the holding changing. I see it as the keeping, the restraining of St. Paul before and after doesn't change. He's still kept.
So Paul's being kept as a prisoner, but it's the custom of the Romans that they shouldn't hold a man prisoner until they have charged him. So, and Paul had not been charged at that point. So, in fact, actually really shouldn't have been held because he hasn't been charged there. So, but Paul was going to be sent to Jerusalem to face the accusers, right? But Paul asked to be kept until his hearing with Augustus. Faustus, the procurator of Judah, had declared that Paul would be held until Festus sent him to Augustus. So it's not the holding that changes, it's the position of where he's being held, who he's being held by. It's only until he is sent from Festus, he's only held because it says, I commanded him to be held. Festus is the one who's commanding him to be held until he is sent to Augustus. And after that, then that changes because it's a positional change, not the position, not the holding that has actually changed, because we're in reference to Festus holding him, but that then changes when he sends him to Augustus. And it's important that you have the word I commanded that he be held until I send him to Augustus, to Caesar.
Wait. What did you say now? Because it says when Paul had appealed to be reserved unto the hearing of Augustus, I commanded him to be kept. Who's speaking there?
So Paul appealed to Festus to be kept because he shouldn't have been kept, because he was technically he was an innocent man. He hasn't been charged with anything. But Paul wants to be kept. He wants to be reserved unto the hearing that he has with Augustus. So he's going to go off and have the hearing with Augustus. So Festus commands that he is kept, that Paul is kept till Festus sends him off to Augustus. So he is holding him, but that is only until he sends him off to Augustus. So the till changes from Festus to Augustus. There is a change.
Yes, but he is still held.
Yes, but that's not what is being referred to here. It literally has, I commanded him to be kept till it's the I.
That's what it is. Kept.
Right.
Command him to be kept. Kept. That's the subject, the point. The kept. Till.
Right. But I commanded him to be kept.
So the kept is the thing that needs to be changed according to you.
I commanded him to be kept till I might send him to Caesar. So it's I. It's the referent there is the I, which is the commanding.
So why then in Joseph's passage you don't say that the thing is Joseph, but you put it on the end, the knew her until, but now you don't put it at the end, the kept.
You have to, because you have to read.
Because it doesn't suit you. That's why.
No, you have to read the verse and look at the context and who is in reference. What is being referenced?
Yes, he commanded him to be kept until. He knew her not until. What's the subject? Knew her not. What's the subject? Kept.
No, I commanded him to be kept.
Yes, until.
But then
and Joseph knew her not until.
But
it's not talking about Joseph. It's talking about knew her not there.
But you're not including the actual words of the verse. You're trying to separate words that are in the verse. You're trying to make something read differently than actually.
No, I'm just using the same structure in all verses.
No.
That's not how the word before eos,
not how the structure works.
Knew her.
You have to. Each verse is a different structure. We might have who included in it, but the context and the reference are different in each specific verse, aren't they?
Yes, but the subject is the one before the eos too.
You're taking one verse and trying to force that into another verse, the way that it's read. But you have to look at the context, the reference in the verse.
So when it says, I knew her not until, what's the subject?
Right. So if I said let's put that in change that to better English than knowing. Let's just say Joseph did not have sex with Mary until she brought forth.
But that's not what the text says, and not even Luther or Calvin will agree with you.
What? So, but you understand? So you're saying that the knew her not does not mean sex? No Greek scholar will say that. No one in the first 1500 years will say that. Beside, like a couple heretics, like Census, what was his name? Like Irenaeus?
No, Irenaeus believed in the perpetual virginity.
So when Irenaeus states, I didn't really want to bring up, but let's. So in Irenaeus Against Heresies, this to this effect. No, sorry, this is referring to come together. He actually refers it as that was in reference to being kept virginity. I'm not going to go to Irenaeus on that. That was to do with
don't go to the fathers. They all talk about the perpetual virginity.
They don't talk about the perpetual virginity of her, but that's fine. you again, you are trying to make a construct of an English sentence, right? Work from one sentence to another sentence. Yes, they have Heos who in the Greek in each one of those, but the construct of each verse is different. The reference are different. The point of references are different as well.
No, but the construct is the same.
No, the construct of those verses are
He
not
told them to stay there until. What's the subject? To stay there.
Right. No, the command.
What? No.
I commanded him to be kept.
That's right. The stay there until. So what is the point of
stay
there?
But then we get right. But then we get a second reference there. I might send him to Caesar. So that changes. I commanded him to be kept. I commanded him to be kept. But then Caesar commanded him to be kept. There is a change of person keeping Paul.
Yes, but he's still kept.
But not by the same person.
Who is the subject they're talking about?
Right. But
he didn't change. He still remained kept.
But we have the specific word, I commanded.
Yes, and Joseph didn't know her. So is the change that Joseph didn't know her, but somebody else knew her?
No. Now you're trying to change the actual argument completely.
I'm trying to match your logic. That's why.
No. Because what you're trying to do is force one verse in the reading of one English verse, Matthew 1:25. You're trying to read the construct of that verse, the reference of how they are referred to in that verse, and make it be exactly the same as this verse. That's not the way to read the verse. You have to read the verse individually, right? And you look at the reference and where Heos who, because Heos who doesn't appear in the exact same place in both verses. You have to look at where that construct is, where those words are, and what is being connected and what is being referred to. You're just trying to say, well, okay, we've got three references in this verse. I'm going to force this verse to say exactly the same thing because it's got Heosu in it, and I want it to say something so that I can go back to Matthew 1:25 and make it say something different. That's what you're trying to do.
No, I'm just using the same construct.
You're not. This construct of this verse is completely different.
You can't apply it to the I commanded him. Not the kept, and then in the other verse in the same construct, you don't apply it to Joseph, for example, and you apply it to the new verse.
It's a completely different verse. It's a completely different verse with
totally the same construction. That's what I'm saying. The same thing with Jesus told them to stay there until. What's the subject? To stay there, not Jesus. He told them to. I think he crashed. Yeah, most likely he crashed.
I think so. Give him just like a couple of seconds. He should be back again. It shouldn't be too much of an issue. I will add on a little bit more extra time for that allowance. And such, but I'm hoping he'll come back.
Yeah, he will.
Yeah.
And after this, we'll probably move to Mark 6.
That's absolutely fine. I mean, it's up to you. It's up to you where you want to go next. So.
Yeah, I believe that's where we should go after that. Mark 6, where it talks about the brothers and the sisters of Jesus. I think a lot of Protestants try to use that.
Yeah. I think that would be good to go
Galatians 1:19.
Here he comes.
James, the apostle and brother of Jesus, which is, I think, towards me, that one.
It's LJ. It's saying device not kept. Device is not
connected. Kicked them out again.
Yeah. There we go. Here we go.
I'm back in. I'm having really bad internet. problems.
I'm surprised I've had no internet issues yet.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for mine to crash and go mental. So far, touch wood, it's been good.
I had a 4-hour presentation yesterday. Not once did I get kicked out. Normally, I do on my presentations. I'll probably get kicked out 2 or 3 times. Not once. Today, obviously, been kicked out within an hour, like 4 times at least.
So yeah, that's good. I think Repair It of the Bridge wants to go to Mark, is it?
Okay, yeah,
No,
let's go.
If LJ is done with that, I don't know if he wants to say something else.
No.
I was thinking probably next we'll probably go to Mark 6 or something like that, or even Galatians 1:19.
Whichever one you want to go to. Let's go Mark 6 if that's the one. If you want to go to
Sure.
Mark 6.
So what's the verse in Mark 6 that you're going to be looking at? Is there a specific one?
Well, verse 3 probably.
3 and 4, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
3 and 4.
It's 3 and 4.
So these
So
are the
it says-
verses in question.
Yeah, it says, "Is not this the carpenter, the son of Mary, the brother of James and Joseph, and of Judah and Simon? Are not his sisters here with us?" And they were offended at him. But Jesus said unto them, "A prophet is not without honor, but in his own country, and among his own kin, and in his own house."
Yeah.
So first of all, it says, "Is not this the carpenter, the son of Mary, the brother of James and Joseph?" The James and Joseph, they're not mentioned as sons of Mary. First of all, only Jesus is mentioned as the son of Mary. And then it talks about his sisters. And then Jesus goes and says, "A prophet is not without honor, but in his own country and among his own kin and his own house."
Yeah.
Now, among his own kin, it's his relatives. Even in the Greek, it says sigenis in Mark 6.
Yep. In verse 3 is Sugenis.
Sigenis, which are relatives.
Yep.
And then in his own house are the sisters.
Yep.
Which are cousins too.
You're going to take a because that's Adelphos there, and so you're going to force Adelphos to mean something that it doesn't mean in the entirety of the New Testament.
Well, it literally says sigenis, so it says they are relatives in the text.
Yeah. Okay, because you're doing what William Albrecht does, is connecting the kin Sugenis of verse 4 with
the closest blood relatives. Yeah, closest relatives.
Yeah, of verse 3. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's just what William Albrecht actually argues, but there are the problem with that is that it doesn't work.
Well, Romans 9:3, Paul used the exact same structure.
So there are 3 different class of people in the verse. Jesus says that a prophet is not without honor except those in his own country. All right, I will butcher the Greek, so I do apologize, but patridi.
Yeah, homeland.
Yeah, the meaning like the hometown, which is obviously Nazareth. So
yeah,
we have to understand this is Nazareth. This is Jesus' own town. So
it mentions it actually, I think 3 times in the text.
Yeah. So if anybody's going to know, whether Jesus has sisters and brothers or anything, is going to be in his hometown anyway. So that's what we're given the text that this is in his hometown, but then Jesus refers to his relatives, the Sugenis.
Mm-hmm.
But you're now going to link Sugenis with the Adelphos.
Yes.
The two together. All right, and Adelphi, which is obviously the female version of it. But you're linking those together. But Jesus then refers to those of his own house. His
Yes,
household.
those are the sisters.
Right. So Jesus distinctly separates his relatives from those of his house, making it clear that the two references are not the same. The relatives of Jesus would not be of his household. The relatives are those that are his clan around him. His household would be his mother, father, and his siblings, the Adelphos, and his sisters, Adelphi. Jesus connects his household with his brothers and sisters, his household, which are distinct and separated from his relatives. They're not the same referent.
Yeah, because those are the sisters only, the women.
Right. So
that lived in the household.
Right. So is this not the carpenter, the son of Mary, the brother of James? Right. So this Jesus is the carpenter. He's the son of Mary. He's the brother of James, Joseph, and Judah, and Simon. And he has sisters. So he has brothers and sisters. He has literal physical brothers and sisters.
No, they're not physical.
But they're Adelphi. So you now need to say that these are not Adelphi, or the Adelphi are connected with the Sugenis, which they're not.
Yeah.
How have you linked them together?
Because it says among his own kin,
right,
which are relatives,
right,
and his own house, which are close relatives, his sisters,
with his brothers and sisters in his own house. So his kin, which are the family
brother. If you put the brothers with the sisters, you put them two groups together.
No, you're putting two groups together. You're putting the kin and the brothers and sisters together.
No, the close kin are cousins. It could be uncles.
The kin, Sugenis, 100%. They're not brothers and sisters.
Yeah, it could be uncles. It could be nephews.
Exactly. They're relatives that are around. But we have the connection here. So a prophet is not without honor, but in his own country and among his own kin and in his own house. Where would his brothers and sisters be? In his own house.
Yes, but those are his brothers.
But so why are
in
they
the
not
sense, in biological, in a sense?
Why?
They're from Judah.
Why would you say that?
Because they're relatives.
No, the kin are relatives. The Sugenis are relatives. But the brother and the sisters are separated, distinct, and mentioned separately from the kin.
Okay, let's go to Mark 15, Mark 15:40, and see who's the mother of James and Joseph.
Right. No, you're going to take James and Joseph, all right?
Yes.
As if like there's nobody else called James and Joseph for a start. Okay. We're talking about this reference. We're talking about who is here now. The brother of James and Joseph. Right. Who is the brother of them? Jesus is.
Yes, but they're not biological.
Because you're inserting that they're not biological.
No, the text says they're relatives.
No, the text doesn't say that they're relatives at all. It says that the kin and his own house are separated, distinct.
Yeah, Mark. Let me just go to Mark. Mark 6.
we're in Mark 6, and the brother. So we have. So Jesus is literal, yeah. So is this not the
Yeah,
carpenter? We're talking about
verse,
literal carpenter Jesus there, the son of Mary. So that's the literal Mary. That's his literal mother. The brother and sisters, they're not literal.
yes, it says in his homeland, and the Sigenis have to, Kendiki have to. So what does
Right.
Sigenis mean?
So that is relatives.
That means, yeah, relatives.
Right. So among his own kin, right? But we've got separated here in his own country and among his own kin and in his own house. So there are three distinct separate reference here. He is not without honor, but in his own country, one. Among his own kin, so in his own country, which is Nazareth. Among his own kin, which are his distant family, his cousins, his uncles, his aunties, his second cousins, and all of that kind of stuff. And his own house. The three
Which are the close relatives.
Which would be his close relatives, which we've just been given the names of his brothers and sisters who are his close relatives. Because they're
so they're not biological brothers and sisters.
No, because
Since they're relatives.
No, because you're now connecting them with the kin rather than his own house. But we've clearly got in the distinct in the text that it says it's not the carpenter, the son of Mary. Then the connection is the brother and his sisters. So the connect here is between Mary and the carpenter, who is obviously Jesus, and his brothers. Then we get the separation of the three different distinct parties: the Nazareth, the country, among his own kin, right, the Sugenis, and his own house. There are three distinct reference in verse 4.
Yes, and St. Paul uses the same thing in Romans 9. In Romans 9:3, I think.
Romans 9:3. For I could wish that myself were accursed from Christ for my brethren, my kinsmen according to the flesh. Right.
So what are the brethren there?
Okay, so now we need to look at this verse. In this verse, Paul uses adelphos, brethren, and sugenis, kinsman. Right. But this again is just a misrepresentation of what is going on. I know that adelphos can mean non-literal brothers. I'm not going to argue that adelphos it can mean spiritual brothers, right? It can mean that. It doesn't mean cousins. It doesn't mean that. It means so. It could. The only argument that you could possibly have is that it was referring to his spiritual family rather than his followers, which I will show in a minute that is a physical. That's impossible because we'll get reference of his disciples, his followers, and his brothers in the exact same verse. So we won't be able to use that argument. You've said that they were cousins, right? But adelphos in the New Testament is only ever used on two separate reference: spiritual brothers, right? Or they are literal brothers. They're never cousins. They're never distant relatives. It's never used in that way in the New Testament. Adelphos, never, not once. And I challenge you to find that verse where adelphos is used in that way. It's not. But again, Paul is not using adelphos to refer to his literal brothers.
I could show you right now where a brother of Jesus is literally not his brother. If you go to 1 Galatians 19, 1:19,
1 Galatians 1:18 and 1:19.
It clearly shows that that's not his biological brother.
Right, but other of the apostles saw I none save James the Lord's brother.
Yeah, so could that be his biological brother?
Paul says that he went to see Peter, who was a disciple. He saw no other apostle except James the Lord's brother. Peter
Okay,
would also be the Lord's brother. Right? Peter would be the
yeah,
Lord's brother in that
there are
context.
two apostles with the name James. One is the son of Zebedee, and the other one's the son of Alphaeus, not the son of Joseph. So he's not the son of Joseph. He's not the brother of Jesus.
We're really going to disagree on that one.
There's only two apostles named James.
So
the son of Zebedee and the son of Alphaeus.
Right.
That's the brother of Jesus. Are they biological brothers? Of course not, since they have different fathers.
No. All the followers of Jesus would be referred into that sense. Right. I want to show you a verse where Jesus refers to brothers and sisters, to his mother and brothers, while he refers also to disciples and separates them distinctly.
Yeah, those are the close relatives again. Because if you go to Numbers 1, it shows you that.
No, because
according to the houses and according to the relatives. Because
adelphos is never used of close relatives. That would be suggenis, there's another word as well, which
Lot is the uncle, is the nephew of Abraham.
Right,
but he's called brother too.
Right, we're going to stick to the New Testament, because otherwise we're going to fall into like the trap of I'm going to disagree with you on the Greek Septuagint, because I don't hold to the Greek Septuagint. So you're going to go to the Greek. So you're going to go to the Greek of the Greek New Septuagint of the Septuagint, which you're going to then try and override the Hebrew. All right.
What does kinsman mean in the Hebrew? Close relatives.
Right.
Look it up.
I'm going to go to the verse that I want to go to, because we've gone to like 4 or 5 now that you wanted to bring up.
So I just wanted to make sure in Galatians 1:19. So you're saying that James the apostle is not one of the apostles? Is it a different James, and the other James in Mark 6 is a different James?
He's a literal brother of Jesus.
But he's an apostle, and the only 2 apostles were James.
Right.
The son of Zebedee and the son of Alphaeus.
We can get into that. I'm going to go to the verse that I want to go to, because I want to show where bear with me while I find it. So we have to look at the context of what where adelphos is being used anyway. Right, so it's in Matthew 12:48. So he uses it, adelphos, to not refer to obviously a literal brother. But the problem with this is going to be, is he has his disciples in front of him, and then he refers to he talks about his brethren, and he distinguishes them from his disciples. So in Matthew 12:48, I don't know if Chris is bringing up verses anymore. So I'm not sure exactly if this is where I want to go.
I have the verse up. LJ.
Matthew 12:48.
So
is not this 12, your mother? Are they not your brothers?
So I want to go in context. So I want to go to 12:46 through right the way through to 50. You got that up? So 46.
Oh, sorry. Do you want me to go LJ?
46 all the way through to 50. That part there, the Jesus mother and brothers there, that section there. So what we'll start off with, so Jesus is where's Jesus now? He's in a room, yeah, and he's talking to people. And behold, his mother and his brethren stood without. So his mother and brethren stand without, desiring to speak to him. So they're outside. The mother and the brethren are stood outside. Then one said unto him, behold, thy mother and thy brethren stand without, desiring to speak to you. Oh, what's happened there? I can hear feedback.
Yeah, I can. I think that might be coming from George or from me. Let me just put them.
Can hear quite a bit of Can you actually still hear me?
Yeah, he can hear you. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
I've sorted that issue now.
Yeah, it's all right. It's no problem.
I apologize for that.
That's okay. But then he answered and said unto him that told him. So somebody's told him that his mother and brothers are outside, or his brethren.
I think LG.
I don't hear anything.
Oh, it said it said the host has muted you.
No, I didn't. Did I mute you?
No. I've been able to unmute myself anyway, but
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, LJ. I didn't mean to do that.
That's all right.
I pressed the wrong button. Please forgive me.
Don't worry about it, Chris. So then he stretched forth his hand towards his disciples and said, behold my mother and my brethren. So he's distinguishing between his mother and his brethren who are stood outside, right, from these disciples which are inside. So these are not the disciples which are outside. The brethren here are not are not his disciples for a start.
Yes, I agree.
Right. Okay. So these brethren are his literal physical brethren, because adelphos is never used in order to refer to cousins, uncles.
They are his brothers from the tribe of Judah.
You're
as Numbers 1 says.
You're now taking that the adelphos. You're literally taking the true meaning of that word, and you're applying it to something that is not ever used in the Bible, in the New Testament. Nobody uses it in that way.
Even Josephus uses the same construction, calling the brothers Sigenis in the Greek.
We're not looking at Josephus. We're looking at this text here.
Yeah, but it's the same construction with St. Paul and Matthew, and he was in the 1st century.
Not one.
And he used the exact same construction, and he used the word adelphus for relatives in book 6, I think.
Not one person of the New Testament utilizes the word adelphos for a close relative.
Well, I will agree. I disagree, because clearly James, the brother of Jesus, the apostle, was not his biological brother.
Right. That is the same James as what was referred to as.
Yes, James the Less, the son of Alphaeus.
No,
that's who James is.
That is the same James that was referred to in the list of brothers that we had.
Yeah.
Right.
That didn't believe him in the beginning, and they believed him after the resurrection.
Exactly. So his close family, some of his brothers and sisters did not believe on him. That was actually prophesied back in one of the Psalms. That is.
Well, I would disagree with that, because that's talking about the Judahites and the Israel in general, or else then you will have to say that Jesus sinned. if you take everything literal in that psalm. Because the mother is not his mother, it's Jerusalem, his mother. That's why he was weeping for Jerusalem.
All right. Okay.
And his brethren are the Israelites who hated him without a cause.
Okay, we're going to obviously disagree on that one as well. Somebody's saying, oh, no, that was Chris. Was that Chris saying that we're going to go to? Oh.
No, you can go.
Mary's a sinner?
You can go up to the 2-hour mark because obviously you've had a few internet problems.
Yeah, we've only kind of really stuck on one subject as well. We haven't even diverged off of.
Yeah, I pretty much expected that.
We were just going to sit on the.
Yeah.
I didn't actually realize that it's been so long. It is 11, but yeah.
I mean, if you want to go for another 10-15 minutes, if you're happy with where the conversation is going, you want to carry on another 10-15 minutes, we can do that. And then
maybe we've done kind of like an hour and a half of perpetual virginity. I don't know if you want to jump on something else, because obviously we're not agreeing with it, but we can continue on in this one.
Yeah, I would go to Numbers 1, but you don't believe the Greek, because in the Greek it says there that there's sigenis in the houses.
Right. I'm okay with going
and it says sigenis in all Numbers 1. In verse 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. It's all about sigenis.
Yep.
And according to the houses of the fathers.
Yeah, but how are you understanding that?
Well, this is talking about, even in Matthew and Luke, it's talking about the census, that the nation of Israel is separated and the houses are separated and how they live, and that's all what Numbers is talking about.
Right.
It's about all the close relatives, according to the fathers, according to the men's names, and their relatives. They're not only brothers and sisters.
Because you're not because you're going to Numbers 1:2 today. So take ye the sum of all the congregation of the children of Israel after their families by the house of their fathers, with the numbers of their names, every male by their polls. But the problem is that you're that is not that's a group. That's groups of households. By the house of their fathers means that each of the households that made up a clan were counted individually. Each house which contained the smaller individual family, were counted amongst the clan. The group of households, fathers, is plural. Each household has an individual father over the house. While relatives are being grouped together as a family, they are not being referred to as all living in one house, the house of their fathers. There's individual houses that make up a clan. In each individual house, there is a father in each individual house.
Yeah, how many houses are there in total, though? You're trying to say that they're like every father is a separate house, but that's not what it's talking about.
Every house is a separate every house is a separate house that all make up a clan, which then makes up a tribe, which obviously there are 12 tribes. But in this specific verse, we're talking about individual households. The father.
No, you say it's an individual household.
Yes,
it doesn't say it's an individual. It says equals.
Yes,
it could be the house of Judah.
No, because here we have the house of their fathers. It's individual households.
According to the tribes.
Right.
According to the masters.
According to the tribes. So each individual household is counted individually according to their tribes. Each individual household that make up a tribe. So there are individual households according to the house of Judah. But each individual household is counted.
Yeah, but it says that you count them all according to their head.
You count all of the families, all of the children of Israel,
20 years and older,
after their families, by the house of their fathers, after their families, then by the house of their fathers, with the number of their names, every male in the polls. So we have their families, their individual families are counted so you're going to have the whole individual tribe of Judah are going to be individual families. They're not all the same family. They're individual families.
But in verse 20 it says Reuben's sons became the firstborn of Israel according to the Sigenias of them. Don't say houses there. It's they're all put together in a community.
Because we've got another we got a different referent in verse 20.
Yeah, because it's explaining the whole structure. So you have to distinguish what kind of house it's talking about in the New Testament.
Right. So there are individual households in each tribe. They all make up a tribe, but they are all individual households. They're not all in one house. They're in all individual households with a father over those inside the tribe. There are hundreds of different little families that make up the tribe of Reuben. Overall, they are called Reuben, but individually, they are their own people. They're their own family. They're their own individual family. They live in their own individual house. They make up Reuben. But Reuben is not the entirety of the family. That's the tribe.
No, wait. Reuben was the head of the tribe, though.
He's the head of the tribes. But but then you have to break that down into individual families. Because each part of Reuben, right, there's going to be one family here, one family there, one family there. They're all underneath Reuben. They all come as part of the total tribe, but they are each individually by their own house. Just as Jesus was talking about his family when he says in his own land, in his own country, Nazareth, among his own kin, his close family, and in his own house. There's 3 different separate reference. You're trying to make them all the same.
Well, if you say it that way, then you will have to say that the brothers are not his brothers.
Why would I have to say that his brothers are not? The kin are not his brothers.
So who are the kinsmen then?
The kinsmen are the other members of his family that make up the other
but it doesn't mention other. It just mentions the 4 brothers.
Because
those are not kinsmen.
Those are of his house. Because those are of his house. His brothers and his mother would be of his house, which is a reference there.
So who are the kinsmen then?
The kinsmen are the other people that are around about. Those are the ones that are saying, is this not Jesus? Is this not the carpenter? Those people. Is this not the carpenter?
No, because it says that those are Sigenis in the text.
No.
Who are those who are the Sigenis in the text that it's mentioning? The brothers.
No, this is not saying that the brothers are the Suganis.
So who are the Sigenis? So only the brothers and the sisters are mentioned.
The brothers and sisters are the ones that are of his household. The kinsmen are the ones that are around about. Those are the ones that are in his country, are the ones that are saying, is this not Jesus, the carpenter? Is this not his
Yes,
mother?
but Mark 6 says that they are the Sigenis, the brothers and the sisters. More specifically, the brothers.
No, I've just shown you that wasn't correct. You've connected, like I said, you connected the two together when they're two distinct, separate reference in Mark 6:3 and Mark 6:4. I went through that and showed why they would be two separate in reference. They're not the same reference there. The brothers and sisters can only be the literal brothers and sisters of Jesus in that context, in that verse. You cannot have them as close relatives because
I actually can't, because the gospel says that James and Joseph are the sons of Mary the Cloak, which is the wife of Alphaeus, whose son is James the apostle.
Right. You're now just grabbing names out of, because you've managed to find two people that have the same name. Right, and then you've now demanded that those two which are referenced separately and those other four which are referenced together have to be the same.
So you're telling me that in Mark 15:40, where it says that the woman were far away, Mary, the wife of Cloak, the mother of James and Joseph, that James and Joseph is not the same James and Joseph?
I would argue that they're not. Yeah.
Oh, so even when Mary went to the tomb, the mother of James and Joseph, those are not the same James and Joseph.
They would be the same James and Joseph.
And those are not, so the women are not the sisters then.
Mary, of that particular Mary. We're getting two different references. We're getting one of that particular Mary, and then we're getting this one, which is the Mary, the mother of Jesus, which is
Mary the Cloak is a sister of Mary, the Virgin Mary. But she's not her literal sister. She's her cousin. She's a close relative from the tribe of Judah. Mary, the wife of Cloak.
No, sorry, I was just reading one of the comments. Yeah, we have two different reference. You can't take one name when there are like seven Marys in the New Testament. You can't take each one when it refers to Mary, and you demand that it must be this person, right? We have to. No,
it says her name, Mary, the wife of Cloak, the mother of James and Joseph.
Right. So she has two children, James and Joseph.
That's what it literally says. It says the sons of Zebedee.
She has a James.
Who are the sons of Zebedee?
How many Jameses?
Simon and Judah.
There's lots of Jameses. There's lots of different Simons. There's lots of different Marys. You cannot just take one name and go, right, okay, well, this one must be this one.
No, I'm taking the Bible. The ones that were following the Virgin were Mary the Cloak, Salome. Those were the sisters mentioned there.
Yeah.
The brothers mentioned there are their sons, which are the cousins of Jesus.
In what verse are you now referring to?
Well, if we go to Mark 15:40, the women were far away when Jesus was being crucified.
Right.
And it clearly shows that Mary, the mother of James and Joseph, is not the Virgin Mary.
But I wouldn't argue that she was. I'm referring to the reference of the four brothers that are mentioned within the text, the specific text.
Yes, and two of them are mentioned as the sons of Mary the Cloak.
No, you've now taken those two names, which are common names throughout the Bible, and said, right, these two must be the same.
Yeah, because those are the ones who are always with the Virgin Mary in the Bible. Those are the virgins in Psalm 45, which says to followed the Virgin Mary. The virgins follow behind her in Psalm 45.
But now what you're doing is you're taking two reference to different separate reference, one which is a different Mary than the Mary of Jesus, and you're now saying that because she has two children, right, that these must be the same children that are referenced in connection with Mary, the mother of Jesus.
Yes, because throughout the New Testament, the only ones that are with the Virgin Mary is Mary, the mother of James and Joseph, Salome, and Mary Magdalene and Martha.
But in
Those
the
are the
verse,
women that follow them.
in the verse that we have connected, where we've seen the carpenters, is this not the carpenter? That is not who is in reference.
Yes, it doesn't say they are the sons of Mary.
They are connected to Jesus.
Does it say they are the sons of Mary? No, only Jesus is called the son of Mary.
Because
why
that's
not?
the reference who they're referring to. Then they refer to his brothers and sisters.
Yes, because they're from the tribe of Judah, his brethren, his kinsmen.
No, because they wouldn't use that word then. They would use a different
Well,
word.
as I said, Josephus in the first century, that's what he used when he translated from the Hebrew to the Greek. He used sigenis in the word for brother, and it's actually a chiastic. I read it today. In the top, it says that they're the king's sons and his brothers, and then in the end, he finishes it, the king's children and his sigenis, saying that the brothers on top are actually relatives.
Well, we're going to stick to the biblical text and how the biblical writers utilized the word, and the biblical writers did not utilize that in that way, adelphos in that way. They never did.
Well, I would disagree, but you don't believe the Old Testament.
I do believe the Old Testament. I believe the Old Testament in the sense in the Hebrew, and when we go to the Greek, when you went to Numbers 120, Numbers 1:2, that didn't work because you weren't understanding the fact that this was actually referring to individual households.
Well, in the beginning, when it starts, it says about according to the tribe, and
Right.
We know that Jesus is the man.
According to the tribe, but then you have the breakdown of the individual families within that tribe, because they're not all the same family; they're all individual families within the tribe.
Well, I could bring you an example that in Cornelius' house, they were not all his blood relatives, all his biological sons and daughters, but it was a household.
Cornelius a Jew?
Wasn't he devout, practicing Jew?
Well, Cornelius.
Yes.
I thought Cornelius was a Greek.
Yeah, and he converted to Judaism, and he was practicing Judaism, and he feared God.
Right. But that's not the same thing as going back to Numbers 120 when they're living in tents inside of being counted for a war that they have to be counted. You're now conflating two different counts of ways of understanding that. You've taken a Greek person and you're trying to force the way we're going to understand Numbers 120 or 1:2. Sorry.
Yeah, because it's a household, and all the households, they're not only biological brothers and sisters. There are all sorts of people living in the households.
Not in a Jewish household. They wouldn't have been.
Oh, we'll have to disagree, and we disagree on the James and Joseph, and the James the apostle, the brother of Jesus, being James the son of Alphaeus, or James the son of Zebedee.
Yeah, clearly. So anyway, we've been going for 2 hours on the Virgin, on the perpetual virginity. I don't know if Chris wants to obviously continue on or go on to another particular subject, or whether Chris just wants to get to questions, or I'm kind of okay with whatever. Chris. Hello.
You probably went to sleep.
Oh, sorry, I am here. Right, sorry, I just had to quickly just snip away. Right, so guys, where are we at now? Do we want to open it up for Q&A?
I think we've kind of really done. We haven't really. We've only really scratched the surface of the virgin birth, really, and going into
Yeah,
much
we're just
detail.
gliding over things.
Yeah, but I mean, it kind of gives us maybe a platform for part 2, but
Yeah,
it has been 2 hours. So
yeah,
maybe
I mean, we've got 5 minutes till it gets to the 2 hour mark. I was going to stop it in 5 minutes anyway. And
Right,
so
okay.
obviously we're going to go through the whole Mariology account, even on the claim that Mary was full of grace and she wasn't considered a sinner. So even on communion of saints, and so there's quite a lot to get through on this topic. So it's not going to be just, this one. We're going to do it in parts, and it'll be over a couple of weeks or a month. It won't all be in one go.
That's
so
fine.
this is part 1.
Yeah.
If you want to now open up for Q&A, let people come up on the stage and obviously maybe ask you two a question, and we'll take it from there. If the audience wants to ask you a question, we can do that.
Yeah.
So if that's what you two are willing to do right now, then we can go with that.
I enjoyed the conversation anyway, George. It was.
I really
Yeah,
did as well.
me too.
Yeah.
I knew from the beginning that we would need more time.
Yeah.
That's why I said mostly the perpetual virginity, because that alone will take a lot of time. So that's why I knew that we weren't going to get into a lot of stuff.
Yeah, this
I would
is
love
not
to go to Psalm 45, for example, but
yeah. Well, this is like I said, this is only part 1. There's going to be more to this than just this one, but we're not going to do it all in one go. We'll do it over a month, 2 months, and do it in stages.
I'm fine with that.
So, do you guys now want to open up if anybody has questions for you two?
My internet is holding out, but it might crash at any time. But just to let you know, I might crash out again, and I might have to come back in. But I'm okay with questions. Yeah, I'm okay with opening up.
Right. So what I'm going to do now, guys, in the audience, if you want to come up on stage, please feel free to do it. The link is in the chat. There will be a queue system. I obviously don't want to pile out the stage and then it get chaotic. So Taylor's in the backstage now, and I'm now going to bring him up to ask his question.
Right. Can I? Just nip off for 2 minutes a sec?
Yeah, go on. Just take. Yeah, go on. That's
I just need to get a drink
because I think his question is to George anyway. So that's yeah. So to the audience, if you want to now click the link, come up on stage, you can. If you want to stay in the comments section, please feel free to do that. Just put the @ with the name and the question, and we'll deal with it that way. So Taylor is first, so I'm gonna add him to the stream, and he can ask his question.
I did ask for a 2-part because the first part is just a quick.
That's absolutely fine.
The first question is a quick one. Repera, would you say that Joseph is also a perpetual virgin?
I don't know. It doesn't say, the text doesn't say anything about that.
No, it's just because when you're married, you can't withhold, which kind of goes into my next question. Because according to 1 Corinthians 7, verse 4-5, it says that a woman cannot withhold or deprive her husband from sexual intercourse except for a part of time. by this statement, Mary would be a sinner because you're supposed to be fruitful and multiply and not withhold sex. How would you?
Yeah,
reconcile
Mary was fruitful. She gave birth to Jesus.
Yeah, it's talking about depriving your husband in 1 Corinthians. I can read it for you if you want. 1 Corinthians 7.
Yeah, that's talking about people with lust.
No,
that burn with lust. Mary didn't burn with lust. She was all holy, all gracious.
Can I ask you the question? Because it says this:
Sure.
For the wife does not have authority over her own body, but the husband does. Likewise, the husband does not have authority over his own body, but the wife does. Do not deprive one another, except perhaps by agreement for a limited time, that you may devote yourselves to prayer, but then come together again, for Satan may not tempt you because of your lack of self-control.
Yeah, it's just talking about lust over there.
It's literally about wives, but
yeah,
it's about wives and husbands. Do not deprive your husband from sex. That would be her breaking the law. Okay. Anyway,
because it's talking about lust. Because people have lust. Mary doesn't have lust.
It doesn't say that. It doesn't say anything about lust. It says about the wife to not withhold her body.
Yeah, if you read the whole context, it tells about people burning with fire. What's that burning with fire about?
Not in relation to that statement. The whole context is literally about the wife.
Yes, in the same chapter.
Yeah, but the literal immediate context is saying, do not deprive one another, except perhaps by agreement for a limited time. The commandment according to the Torah is that the husband and wife come together and become one flesh, and they are fruitful and multiply. But anyway, I've asked my question. I'll jump down.
Oh, did Saint Paul get married?
You don't have to. It says when you're married. You don't have to get married. It's not a commandment to.
So he didn't fulfill the commandment to multiply and be fruitful?
He doesn't have to get married. As you see in the Bible, it says to Paul, he says, if you can withhold, it's better for you. But if you can't, then you should be married and be fruitful. So anyway, I've asked my question. I'll let whoever's next jump on. Thank you very much, Chris, and good chat, guys. Good chat.
No worries. Thank you very much, Taylor. Well, it seems nobody wants to ask questions in the audience. Nobody wants to come up on stage. So I guess if you want to do a closing statement, 5 minutes each, and then we can end the broadcast. No one's asking any questions.
I thought that I saw some questions in the passage.
Where I've not seen no questions.
I don't know.
Right, so since nobody's asking any questions to the audience, I mean to either LJ or to Repair It of the Breach, I'm going to give them like 5 minutes each now to do a closing statement, and then we're going to end the stream. So if George, you want to go now and have 5 minutes.
Sure. So from what we saw in Matthew 1:25, according to the structure of the text, there's no implying that they had sex after. You won't even find a scholar saying that up until the 1500s. You might find like 2 people in the 1500 years of Christianity saying that. Not even Luther or Calvin believed that it's talking about having sex after. Now, when we went to the LSU, we see clearly examples that doesn't mean change of the subject, and others showing the change of the subject. So you can't say with certainty that there is a change or there is not a change in the virginity of Mary. Again, you can't say that in the text. It the text doesn't imply that. When it comes to the brothers of Jesus, the text clearly says that they are relatives, sigenis. Now, LJ didn't accept that the James and Joseph are the same James and Joseph of Mary the Cloak. He doesn't want to agree that the James, the apostle and brother of Jesus, is one of the apostles. But if you put all the texts together, those are the only ones that I mentioned. And they are the son of Zebedee and the son of Alphaeus, not the son of Joseph. The only point that I believe that he could make is about the sisters. That's the only point someone can make. But we know that those sisters are literally cousins because they are the ones with the Virgin Mary throughout the New Testament, which is Mary, the wife of Clope, Salome, Mary Magdalene, and Martha, the sister of Lazarus. So I don't think there's any text that shows that Mary had sex after Jesus was born, or implied that she had sex. And I'll leave it there, and hopefully next time we can talk about Psalm 45, which is tied with the virgin being at his right side. So she's a virgin being at his right side, which is at the cross, which I didn't have time to mention when Jesus tells John, "Behold thy mother." Because if Jesus had brothers and sisters, they would have taken care of the Blessed Mother. But we don't see that. We see John taking care of the Blessed Mother, showing that Jesus did not have any brothers to take care of the Blessed Mother. And in Psalm 45, it says she's at his right side, and she is all glorious inside. And the virgins follow her, and she worships the Lord, which is God in the Hebrew, the one there, the Messiah. And she enters into the temple of the King, which is the Assumption into the temple, which we'll talk about it in Revelation 11 when the temple is open and the ark was seen. That ark is the Blessed Mary. And I'll say good night because I won't stay long, guys, because I've been up for like 35 hours.
No worries, George. I really appreciate you staying up so long to do this podcast. Thank you so much. LJ, if you want to finish off with a closing statement, like maybe up to 5 minutes, that would be great.
Yeah, I doubt if I need 5 minutes. So I think that in the discussion, we obviously specifically stayed on Matthew 1:25, and I don't think that George is able to explain the usage of the word till in that verse sufficiently, because with that, as I said earlier, with that clause in there, it literally is telling you that something is going to change. We went to all of the verses that utilize the exact same form of in Matthew, used by Matthew, how he used heosu, and showed that there is a change. We even went to the one where George brought up that I hadn't actually included in my list, and showed that there is a change in what was before. So every single time that Matthew utilizes that, there is a change. And we still are stuck with the reason for him actually including it in that specific verse when he's talking about the virginity of Mary, and he's trying to show that she is a virgin up until the point of the birth. After that, there is no necessity for that till to not have changed, to not knowing, which is a reference. It's a Jewish euphemism. We know that is used throughout the Old Testament to refer to having sex. Adam knew his wife. Cain knew his wife. We know that this is a euphemism for sex, and that the till just that changes the not knowing, which was before. So, like I say, I showed with the Heos Who, the Matthew's construct of how he utilized that and how things change. Now, we also went into obviously Adelphos, and I showed where actually George surprised me with the sense in John, where he agreed with me on the fact that the brothers and Mary were outside, and so when it referred to Mary, his mother, George would obviously take that as literally being Mary the mother, but then he has to read into the text where it says the brothers. He now has to change that to being relatives, despite the fact that obviously his disciples, his followers, are inside the building, and they're actually separated from the brethren which are outside, which they've come to see him. So Mary seems to be following, in George's understanding, seems to be being followed by a whole group of Jesus's non-literal brothers and family who are following him about. They don't believe in him, but they're following him about, which kind of makes no sense. But yeah, so I think that I didn't go into James his and Jonas, because we need that takes time in order to be able to explain why I don't believe that those are the two, why they are the same. Maybe we can include that in a follow-up conversation, but there are textual reasons why I don't believe that those are the same. We don't just take two names and then associate them that they have to be the same people with those same names. We get people with the same names throughout the Bible, but we get with Mary, when we're talking about Jesus and Mary, his mother, we literally get named 4 brothers, and then we get sisters as well. And we'd have to deal with the sisters, Adelphi, which is always utilized of physical sisters. So we would have to deal with that as well. But I don't think that George was able to refute the sense of the text that were used, and I don't think he was able to specifically answer, which I think is the verse that would be the main verse that we have, which is Matthew 1:25, which actually denotes specifically that there's going to be a change in what happened before, the not knowing, and then that changes once she's brought forth the child. And that's it. I'm finished. I'm not really much else that I would need to state there.
No worries. Listen, this was part 1 of I can't even say the word now. The perpetual virginity of Mary. So this was part 1. I think in part 2 we're going to carry on the same discussion and go into it a bit further. In part 3 of the doctrine of Mariology, I'm hoping that we're going to look into the position that Mary, being full of grace, was a case that she was not a sinner. And so hopefully we're going to touch on that. But this is part 1. Part 2 will be coming soon. And this will be over maybe a 12-week course of studying. And so remember to stay tuned. Remember to hit the like button notification and subscribe, and remember to make sure that you tune in for the next episode in this series on the round table regarding the doctrine of Mary. So thank you very much for tuning in. There will be an after show party that will be starting within the next 2 to 3 minutes. If you want to join then, it will be an open floor discussion, and you can come in and discuss the debate and who you think won, who you think lost, and what points were raised. And so we'll discuss that in the next showcase. Yeah. So thank you very much. Oh, sorry,
just before we go, Chris, I just want to say thanks to George for engaging in the conversation. He's challenged. He's obviously studied as well. So it was an enjoyable conversation. And in fact, actually, like I say, there were a few things that he gave me that, you know, I normally discuss this kind of thing with just Catholics. So there were things that George actually surprised me with things that he was going to utilize. So I really appreciate it. It was an enjoyable conversation, regardless of whether we agreed and whether we feel like we answered the questions and stuff. It was enjoyable, and I'm looking forward to part 2. Thank you, George. It was enjoyable.
Yeah, I'm looking for part 2 on this subject. Really looking forward to it. So guys, don't forget to subscribe, like, hit the notification bell, all the good stuff. Stay tuned for the next episodes, and remember, we're going to go live again next with the after show party. So thank you all very much for tuning in. God bless you all. May the peace of God be upon you all. God bless. Thank you so much, LJ.
No problem, Chris.
And thank you very much, George, for what you've done, staying up all day and working a 16-hour shift. Thank you so much. God bless, guys. I'll see you on the next stream.